I saw, who knows who Dr. Gabor Mate is? Put your hands up. If you don't know who Dr. Gabor Mate is, I highly recommend you get on YouTube after I'm done speaking and watch some of his videos. I saw Dr. Mate speak in Chicago about 3 years ago at a substance abuse conference. And he's been working with people that struggle with addiction for over 40 years. Vancouver, British Columbia, from street people to billionaires. When Dr. Mate meets with somebody struggling with addiction, he doesn't ask why the addiction, he asks why the pain. What's the underlying pain that keeps causing you to use? And he says it either has to do with emotional loss or trauma. Mental, spiritual, physical, sexual, emotional trauma. It all has to do with trauma. And I looked at my life, I said, I don't have any trauma. Then he asked a question, he said, how many people in the audience are adopted? I put up my hand. He said, do you realize people that are adopted are 48,000 times more susceptible to become an alcoholic or drug addict due to abandonment issues? Then I started looking at my life. I had an older brother that was a narcissist that beat me up for 8 years straight. He chased me off the bus, and my parents would go out to dinner. He'd put me in sleeping bags, throw me down the stairs, lock me in closets. I was a kid with learning disabilities, ADD, dyslexia, I'm a stupid kid. In high school, I had a 1.4 grade average. I took the ACT 5 times. Perfect score was a 36. I received an 11 each time. At 50 years old, I cannot tell you how to use the word there in a sentence, T-H-E-R-E-I-E-R the other way, throw it out the window. I don't comprehend it, I don't process it. Then I was molested by a female babysitter at 12 years old. Boom, there's my trauma. What was my solution? Drugs and alcohol. At 14, it was drinking. At 15, it was cocaine. Off to college, it was magic mushrooms, acid, ecstasy, crystal methamphetamine, cocaine. I had a bumper sticker on the back of my 78 Ford Fairmont that said, in search of the eternal buzz. See, I was always searching for happiness through drugs and alcohol, when in hindsight, they caused all my problems. But my campaign is the hardest thing for anyone to do, even people in this room. Whether it's at work, it's in life, because we all wear a mask. See, I was a guy, how you doing? I'm great. I was always great. Hardest thing for anyone to do, you know what, I'm struggling, I need some help. Hardest thing. And what people need is connection. They need connection. And my journey just continued and continued. I got married, I adopted my former wife's son, Nick, at 3. We had 3 other kids, Max, Tanner, Abby. Struggled with addiction, but my deal was I was in and out of recovery. 21 was my first time in treatment. I like treatment, but I can remember after the end of 30 days, some guy came in and spoke, and he looked at all 38 of us. He said, one of you will be sober in a year and a third of you will be dead. I put up my hand, I said, excuse me, sir, there's 38 of us. He said, listen to me, kid, one of you will be sober in a year and a third of you will be dead. I said, what do? Don't drink, get a sponsor, work steps, go to meetings. All right. Then when I was getting out of treatment, my father sat me down. I love my parents more than anything in the world. They adopted 4 kids. My dad worked for a company by the name of E.F. Hutton down in Chicago at the Board of Trade for 26 years. In 26 years, my father never missed a day of work. My mother co-founded a multi-million-dollar company by the name of Market Day, a food co-op that was through the schools and raised money for the schools. We had dinner every night at 6:30 when we were poor. Vacation was throw the canoe on the van and go up to Wisconsin and canoe down the river and camp out. Any sporting event, man, my parents were my heroes. And I looked at my dad getting out of treatment. I said, Dad, you didn't do anything wrong. And he said, oh, I know that. Who's heard of that cult called Al-Anon? Yeah, those weirdos got to my mom and dad. These famous words come out of my dad's mouth. Jim, I didn't cause your disease, I can't cure it, and I can't control it. But he threw another one in. He said, I'm not going to contribute to it either. I said, so what's that mean, Dad? He said, well, you're welcome to come home, but today you start drinking, don't let the door hit you or God split you. So I decided to go to meetings. And I put my hand up, I'm looking for a sponsor. Nobody would pick on me and be like, yes, gotta wait it again. See, I'm the guy that thought I could get sober through osmosis. If I hang out with sober people, I'll get sober. And that's the way my journey went for years. And I've been on a cocaine bender. I woke up one day and my son Maxwell was standing in the back playing on his cell phone. Say hi, Max.
Hi.
You can play on your phone. It's okay. Probably texted me, Dad, your fly's down. I did that at a police conference too. I spoke to 300 cops and my fly was down the whole time. None of them said anything. Unbelievable. But I woke up from a cocaine bender after a couple days, and Max was 14 months old. He was crawling towards my home office. And I picked him up and I put him in his bedroom and I opened my office door and there was cocaine all over the floor. If my son would have crawled and put one of those rocks, cocaine in his mouth would have killed him. So immediately back to meetings. This time I made it 14 months sober, kind of got a sponsor, kind of worked steps. Started another consulting firm, built my wife and kids a beautiful 5-bedroom house out in the suburbs. My neighbor and I ran 35 Cub Scout then for Pack Masters. We'd have all those little 10-year-old kids doing parades and getting down and doing push-ups. And it was cool, I had a great time. And then I met Joel. Met Joel at one of those 12-step based meetings. We started hanging out. 3 weeks later, asked me to take him to Chicago and move out of his apartment, which I did. As we're moving Joel out of the bed with his roommate, Top Pops. What are you doing here? I'm moving out, Joel. What are you doing? Heroin. You want to do something? Sure. That quick. 1 bag of heroin. 1 bag of heroin. That 1 bag of heroin is what I thought I was looking for. I would not wish a disease addiction on my worst enemy. That 1 bag of heroin turned into $200 to $400 to $500 a day habit for 12 years. I've overdosed on heroin 8 times, been clinically dead 3. Without Narcan, I would not be here. Narcan has saved my life numerous times. I can remember about a year into my heroin addiction, I hit it. I can remember my son Nick saying to his mother, "Why is Dad happy all the time?" I could work, I could function, nobody knew I was on it. And I was dealing with this gentleman in Chicago, Ray Rowan. I can use his name because he's now dead. He killed himself because his wife died from a heroin overdose. And Ray was a bigwig with the Maniac Latin Disciple Street Gang in Chicago. And believe me, I was only one of the only people out in this man's house. And about a year into my addiction, Ray said, "Timmy, get in the car." And he drove me downtown Chicago. And he said, "You see that red door? Get out of the car and walk through it." I said, "What's that?" He said, "Timmy, that's an methadone clinic." He said, "You know what, I really like you, but you're going to die. You're doing way too much heroin, and I don't want you to die. So go get on methadone." All right, great idea. So I walked into the methadone clinic, went to the bathroom, sniffed 10 bags of heroin, said I'm a heroin addict. I remember meeting with the doctor. I said, "Is this stuff addicted?" "No, not at all. You can get off anytime you want." So I got on methadone. They kept telling me, "You got to up your dose 10 milligrams every other day or every other week and get up to at least 100 and you'll plateau and you'll be stable." I remember going home and telling my wife, "Honey, I'm cured, I'm a heroin addict, but I'm on methadone now." Then my wife started putting 2 and 2 together. This is why you were getting sick every 3 or 4 weeks. My poor wife was researching the internet, thought I had some crazy disease. I was just dope sick. So I got on methadone about 5 months onto that. It was Max's birthday party, and I stepped on the toy car. I was at about 85 milligrams, and I got angry really bad. And my wife said, "You've got to get off this." I said, "All right," so I quit taking it. Yeah, that's how on earth. Trying to kick heroin was one thing. Methadone was 1,000 times stronger. So I called Ray, I said, "What do I do?" He said, "Dude, you got to get back on heroin." All right, so I went back shooting heroin. And then Suboxone came out. In 2002, I had to go see a doctor in the Wrigley building, give him $500 cash a week for 7 pills. That was it. But bottom line is I wasn't ready to be sober. We'll talk about that a little bit more. My cycle continued. I started getting consequences, 4 driving on revokes in a year. First year in prison, 2008. They give you 61 days, you get out. I got out, went right back to using. My wife actually got a full ride scholarship to go to nursing school. And I said, "Shannon, you don't need to work. I make plenty of money." She said, "Tim, the way you're living, you're going to end up in 2 places. You're going to end up dead or back in prison. We got 4 kids to take care of." You know, that lady graduated 3 years top of her class while working full-time, taking care of her 4 kids and dealing with me, her heroin addict husband. You think I showed up to her graduation? Nah. I was dope sick. I remember my wife coming home, taking off her little white hat and her flowers and throwing them at me that her mother had bought her and saying, "I hate you." She said, "You couldn't have saved yourself 20 little bags of heroin to watch me walk across that stage I was the only person that walked across that stage and their spouse wasn't in the audience. And I kept using. In December 16th of 2010, I overdosed while driving. I hit 2 cars. I put 4 people in the hospital, one being a 9-month-old baby. I don't remember a thing because I was dead. Clinically dead, 4 to 6 minutes, the paramedic said. Took 5 doses of Narcan to bring me back. I spent a week in jail. I got out and went right back to using. I entertained the best lawyer and said, let's beat this. They never got blood or urine. He said, that's how big my delusional thinking was. My lawyer said, Tim, you ain't beating anything. It's your 3rd DUI, your 5th driving on revolt. They charged you with the spoon and syringe. You're going to prison. It's just a matter of how long. So I got to a point in my life where I wanted to commit suicide. I wanted to put a gun in my mouth and blow my head off. But I was raised Catholic. Any Catholics in here? Craziest religion in the world. See, today I'm a recovering Catholic. Being a kid as a Catholic, I could go break out Mrs. Mary's house windows, go to confession. Father, I sinned. I broke out Mrs. Mary's house windows. Okay, Tim, go give me 5 Our Fathers and 5 Hail Marys. Okay, that's cool. But if you do anything wrong, you're going to hell. You're going to rot in purgatory. Hold on, you just told me if I did these. So God to me was a fearful God. I was afraid of God. But if there was a heaven or hell, and I did kill myself, I didn't want to go there. So I just justified I go back to using. And that's what I did. About 3 months into fighting my case, my whole family knows I'm a heroin addict now. I'm profusely dope sick. I'm taking a hot bath. My 17-year-old son, Nick, walks in the bathroom. Now with Nick, I wasn't a father. I was a friend of my son. I let him smoke weed in the basement, let his buddies drink some brewskis. I justified in my head, if they're doing it here, it's okay, but of course I'm up shooting heroin. And Nick walks in the bathroom and he said, what's wrong, Pops? I said, what do you think, you idiot? I'm dope sick. He said, I ain't more, Dad. Today's your lucky day. My son threw 2 bags of heroin on the counter. And I got out of the tub and I did them. And I went to my son's room and I said, Nick, what the heck are you doing? He said, don't worry, Dad, I'm just selling a little bit. I said, selling heroin? Nick, you know what this drug has done to me. My son looked right at me and said, well, Dad, you're a successful drug addict. I said, why would you say that? Well, we got a nice house, got an office in the Wrigley building, you make a good living. In my son's delusional mind, because I functioned, he thought I was successful. 3 months later, I found out he was doing heroin, so we started doing heroin together. That's how my son and I bonded, getting high together every day, doing drug runs. That's how my son and I bonded. October 30th of 2012, Judge Wada sentenced me to 7 years in the Illinois Department of Corrections. When I walked into prison the second time, I weighed 158 pounds. I skin and bone, I was walking death. I had a $500 a day heroin habit, and I was taking upwards of a gallon of vodka a day. I was trying to kill myself. Whew, you want to talk about kicking? Boy, NRC never saw anything like me. I was sicker than a dog for 2 weeks. Vomiting and defecation stopped. Until I looked up. Sorry, God, jigs up, I'm done. Please take away this obsession and compulsion use, and I swear I will throw my will and life over you. Please let me get into Sheridan Prison. And the next day, I was transferred to Sheridan Prison. In Illinois, there's 28 prisons. There's only 2 with therapeutic drug treatment programs. And by the grace of God, I got into 1. When I walked into Sheridan, I was the happiest person I ever walked into prison because I knew the gig was up. They gave me 7 years, but it was really 3 years and 1, so I only have to do the top number 3. Illinois cuts it in half, 1.5 years, I can do 1.5 years. But that's where the miracles started to happen. I did 30 days in one building, another, and I got into my final cell. And I walk into the cell, and there's this big black man, about 500 pounds, all muscle, sitting on the bunk, reading an AA big book. And I walk into the cell and I said, hey man, how you doing? He kind of looks up at me. Hey Whitey, you into recovery? He said, yeah, why? He said, oh, because if you're not, you ain't coming in the cell, brother, because that's all we do in here. I said, I'm into recovery. He said, good, I'm Big Bird. I said, hey Big Bird, I'm Tim, nice to meet you. And then he looks up again, he goes, Tim, I think I'm going to call you Powder. I said, man, you can call me whatever you want. True story. He actually just called me this morning. He's one of my best friends. Big Bird was a gang chief with the conservative vice lords in Chicago for 25 years. He was a ruthless man. He'd been in prison 10 different times. That man helped save my life. It was 18 hours a day in that cell. We studied the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, the Bible, the NA basic text. We went completely through the steps. We read hundreds of books, Napoleon Hill, Tony Robbins, you name it. We wrote the business plan for my foundation, the Man in Recovery Foundation, in that prison cell. We did groups 3 hours a day, 5 days a week, sat on a bench, had a meeting, walked the yard, talked recovery. I didn't get a TV, I was in there to do push-ups for their little size there to change. My wife came to visit me every 2 weeks with 2 of our kids. I watched their corn grow, get cut down, and grow again. The beautiful house I built my wife and 4 kids was lost in foreclosure. So I displaced my wife and 4 kids, had to put everything into storage, moved 20 miles away to grandmother's house. My oldest son, Nick, was in active addiction. My worst fear was my son was going to die from an overdose while I was in prison. He had been in treatment again for the 5th time. Father's Day 2013, I called home. I said, Shannon, you bring the kids to visit today? She said, absolutely, happy Father's Day. But I need to let you know something, Tim. I sent you a package. I'm like, what'd you send me, some magazines? She's like, no, I sent you divorce papers. I said, we're done. So after 18 years with my wife, 16 years in marriage, my wife divorced me in prison. Put that lady through hell. Because addiction is a tornado of destruction and destroys everybody else. I walked out of prison. God's got a funny sense of humor. I caught my case December 16th of 2010. I walked out of prison December 16th of 2013. 3 years of the day I caught the case, I walked out of prison. I did 13 and a half months in Sheridan Prison. For the first time in my life, I was 13 and a half months clean and sober. Shannon, my former wife, picked me up, took me to downtown Naperville, Illinois, had a little townhouse set up. My mother paid the rent for 3 months. Put $100 a week in my bank account and said, you're on your own, Tim. My 4 kids came over that night, Nick, Max, Tanner, Addie. We had Portillo's. Who's ever had Portillo? Yeah, Italian beef, hot dogs, and rocks. And that was the last night I was together with my former wife and 4 kids as a family. As soon as my parole agent, Slacker Ramsey, showed up 4 days later. Any parole agents in here? Come on, man, don't make us wait 4 friggin' days. I want to get to a meeting. Ramsey showed up. I was at 5 o'clock, call set me. Got another sponsor with 21 years sober. We met every 6 months, every Saturday morning at 6 a.m., did some step work, did a 7 a.m. meeting, then went to his house and did more step work. Then when we went through the steps again, we started studying Drop the Rock and character defects and shortcomings, because I got a bunch of them. For 2.5 years, I never missed a 12-step meeting. Never. See, the most important thing in my life is my relationship with God and my recovery. Everything else comes next. Because without my recovery, I'm dead in the water. And if I go back and use, I'll end up dead. If I'm lucky, I might get back into prison. I started a number of support groups where I have the families come with the person struggling at the same time. I had started the first Heroin Anonymous meeting in DuPage County. And 2 weeks later, a kid comes and he says, I take benzos, can I come? I said, sure. 2 weeks later, I had a mother show up with her daughter and say, can I sit in on your meeting? I said, sure, and I had an epiphany. Why don't I have the families come with the person struggling at the same time, since this is a family disease? And that's what we do. I ran one Monday night in Dixon, Illinois, 100 miles from my house. Tuesday in Streator, Illinois, 90 miles from my house. Wednesday night in Princeton, Illinois, 100 miles from my house. Thursday night in Naperville, Illinois, and Friday night in DeKalb. And it's real talk. And anyone that's in addiction, I don't care what you're on. Suboxone, methadone, pills, you're welcome in my group. I meet you where you're at. But my ultimate job is to try to get you into an abstinence-based lifestyle. And I don't care what you do to get sober. 12 steps, Christian base, refuge, smart recovery, whatever works for you, do it. Sing Kumbaya and chase squirrels. If it works, do it. But you better change every aspect of your life. At 19 months sober, my son Nick was in treatment for the 6th time. Went and met with Nick. He said, Dad, we got such a crazy story. I started doing little speaking events. He goes, I want to work with you. I want to do what you do. I said, Nick, great, get sober. Don't worry, Dad, I will. 30 days out of treatment, right back in Cook County Jail, selling bogus pills, trying to buy heroin. Did 30 days there, got transferred to Kane County for another 15 days, because one of his overdoses, when he came out, he spit in the paramedic's face, so they charged him criminally with that. He got out of jail 45 days later. His mother picked him up, took him to lunch, fed him, said, Nick, we're done. Not coming to my house, not coming to Dad's, because all you do is lie, cheat, and steal. Don't worry, got it figured out. My girlfriend and I are getting an apartment. 5 days out of jail, I called Nick and I said, come to my house and get some Narcan. He said, Dad, don't worry, I'm not on that BS anymore. And I believed him. 2 days later, August 1st, 2014 at 6 in the morning, Shannon, my former better half, called me and said, Tim, get out of bed, I'll be at your house in 5 minutes, Nick overdosed again. I don't tell many people this part of the story. We got in Shannon's car, now she's a nurse. She said, Tim, I'm really concerned. They said he's unresponsive. And I took my cell phone, I plugged it into her charger, and automatically this song popped up out of my playlist by a band by the name of 6 AM. 6 AM was founded by Nikki Sixx, the bassist from Motley Crue, who's also a recovering heroin addict. And he had wrote a book called The Heroin Diaries. And he also put together a band called 6 AM, and a number of the songs are heroin, drugs, recovery related. And the song that came up on my phone was the song called Courtesy Call. And Courtesy Call is about somebody overdosing and dying in a hotel room. And I unplugged the phone, and we drove in silence and fear to the hospital. When we ran into Hinsdale Hospital into the emergency room, Tim and Shannon Ryan here to see our son Nicholas, the overdose, and 30 seconds later the chaplain walked out. I knew my son was dead. I'll ask people and I'll ask you now, what was my next thought? Say it. Say it. Get high. No, my next thought was I'll be at 6 o'clock, 12:70. That obsession and compulsion had been lifted due to me living a life of recovery. My son Nick passed away in my 21 months sobriety age. I went in and identified Nick. I remember going into the room and Shannon hoping that they had the wrong kid, and when she saw my face, she knew. I will never forget that scream. Never. And then Shannon and I going in and trying to get all the kids to come in and say the last goodbyes. I will be the first person to stand here and say I helped kill my own son. And that's something I have to live with for the rest of my life. My son followed in my footsteps. Even though he died on my 21-month sobriety date, I have to own that, and I'm responsible for it, because I laid that path. In the emergency room, Shannon said, I hate God. Blank God, he didn't answer my prayers. And I said, Shannon, what I'm going to say is going to stink, but you need to listen to me. I said, maybe God did answer our prayers, it's just not the answer we're looking for. As I left the hospital, Denise Crosby from the Chicago Sun-Times newspaper called me. Because the next day there was a big article supposed to run on me. I was doing a big Narcan training event. And this 4.5 years ago, nobody was doing this. Well, some people were, especially in Indiana, right? You guys are cutting that here. But anyhow, Denise says, Tim, I'm so sorry about Nick. She said, I'm going to cancel the story. I said, no, you're not. She said, what are you talking about? I said, we're laying my son to rest Wednesday night at the church, and Thursday I'm going forward with the Narcan training event. See if my son's friends had Narcan, the chances are he'd be alive. So the next day in the newspaper it said anti-heroin crusader who's his son to overdose. In my son's passing, Nick solidified what I do today. 2 weeks later, Shannon and I had lunch. My former wife, my best friend in the world to this day, looked me right in the eyes and she said, Tim Ryan, for once in my life, I'm behind you 1,000%. She said, I want you to run your foundation. I want you to help people. I don't want any mother going through what I went through. Heroin took you, my husband, our beautiful home, and my firstborn child. She said, I thought about what you said in the emergency room about God. She said, I truly believe God put Nick and I in your life for a reason, and had you go through your struggles and Nick go through his, for Nick to pass on to set the stage for what you're going to do next.